so much going on. This is like crazy. The
What happened
Drake,
now?
the Kendrick, like pastors are getting into this. Man, this is crazy. So everybody, welcome. So glad y'all are jumping in with us on Content Kings and Queens again. Like we have so much to talk about today. So, I mean, first of all, you all have been seeing the numbers that, like, that this content is out there getting, like from Drake, Kendrick, everybody, pastors are getting in on it, talking about it. There is a lot, and if you're a positive content creator, an uplifting content creator, and you're actually creating content that's going to make the world better, we absolutely need your content to get those kinds of numbers. Like, you know what I mean? We're trying to see you get those, like, boom, boom, boom. So thanks for jumping in with us. I am Charisse. I am the Chief Marketing Officer of hiphoptruth.com. And we've got Mr. DC Elite talking,
Elite,
talking,
yeah.
reviewing all of the leaders, everything. Former, I believe, bureau chief for
Yeah.
TMZ, DC bureau chief for TMZ, Mr. Tenji Collin, the building. And we have Dr. Martin
Dr.
Pratt with us. If you have ever heard of a certain little thing, Black Twitter, little thing like that, or if you remember like Black Planet, like Martin was on the ground floor of like all of these amazing things. But so we are here. We're so happy that you are here. Thanks for jumping in with us. I see you. Give us a shout. So like, have you even heard of the Drake beef and the Kendrick Lamar beef? If you're tired of hearing about it, we want to hear about it. If you have content or a project that is really dope and you're like, so how do you get those numbers? How do you get the boost for it? We want to see you talk about it. Drop it in the comments. And so with that, I'm gonna pass it over to Martin. Right there, right there. Right.
What's up, fam? I think the interesting thing for me around the Kendrick and Drake thing was the evolution of it. And I'm always kind of side eyeing things that grab our attention because I know behind the scenes there's always somebody like me who's sitting there going, how do I manipulate people to get them to click and watch something? And so initially, I wasn't super enthusiastic about following it. I think my wife might have listened to one of them, and then when J. Cole did his thing and apologized, I was like, "Okay, this is definitely somebody tried something and it didn't work." The thing I think I didn't realize, and even this morning I was listening to someone's post from last night, was how many people feel a certain way about Drake. Or and 10G said it to me yesterday. It's like people just want to pick on you because you're on top. And with Drake, I think, and this is like the all of us are a certain age, so we all probably remember this, but some people watching may not remember this. Pepsi and Coke used to have these commercials where they had a hidden taste, and so they had a cup, and it was two different drinks in a cup. They didn't tell you what cup it was. They didn't tell you what was in it, and somebody would taste one, they'd taste the other one. And invariably, for me at least, when I saw that commercial, I knew that Pepsi was going to taste better than Coke. I knew it. I knew people were going to pick the Pepsi one. And we tried that on our blog. We tried, we went around doing that, at least in my family, from North Carolina to New Jersey, just seeing which one people would pick. And that, if we had social media back then, I think that would have spawned a big kind of figure out what you like challenge. And I think with the Drake and Kendrick, it hit a psychic part of what people felt about Drake, but they haven't said anything publicly because the juggernaut, the marketing that he's a part of, and his, shout out to all the people that play a part in him making millions of dollars. It feels very overwhelming. But because what Kendrick was able to do and the vein he hit with the lyrics they used initially, and then I think the second one he dropped also, it resonated, not just on the West Coast. It resonated with a lot of people who felt some kind of way. And not because Drake was on top. I don't think it's that. I think that there's a difference in hip hop, or in even I guess it might be in jazz too. I remember somebody saying something about Kenny G versus somebody else, and um, in art, I think the authentic artist, the one that's struggling or the one that feels closer to his or her art or their art, uh, it resonates with the audience better. And I think that for years people have felt some kind of way about Drake and then haven't had a voice. So this has allowed a lot of people who are, maybe have 1,000 followers or 5,000 followers to analyze Drake's lyrics, and now they have 1 million views to their TikTok that they posted. They start out with 2,000-3,000 followers and almost no voice, but their analyzation of why this resonates so well has gone to the millions. And these are people that a month ago nobody knew who they were. Now everybody's like, yes, that's right. Drake said, I'm a Zimmerman you. It's like what? And I heard it, but I didn't hear it because I just ignore what Drake says. But this little, we'll say little person, but this person that I've never followed, don't know, post, this is why Kendrick's lyrics resonated with me, because Drake did ... And it's like, not because he's, like you saying, Tenji, not because he was number one, but because he didn't authentically hit with where he says he is, which is one of the biggest things I've seen this morning, was that Drake is Black, but he's not Black American. So he can't resonate with the hip hop experience here in America.
I kind of I want to take this two ways, and first, I would say I got caught up in just listening to it and wanting to hear more and like breaking down, and then because both of them are great lyricists to begin with. So when it comes on that level, like neither one can really outdo each other, because Drake can
We
get
can agree to
gritty
disagree.
same way. Yeah, okay. Let's just say Kendrick is a step above lyrically, but can't make songs. So whichever way you want to say it with lyrics, it can, because
Yeah.
he can't outsell him with making songs. That's already a fact. So the difference when looking at it, and people always cheer for the underdog anyway, and that's why when I was saying yesterday about Drake, and he's been on the top, so people like to see someone come for him. I do think that, but I also think he kind of brings it on himself, because more people might say he doesn't really have that street cred, but he bought a lot of it and his upbringing. So sometimes those things can affect a person's way of thinking about your lyrics. Like you say this and you say that, but you've never done any of that or even been a part of it. So I don't believe you. And whereas Kendrick, where he comes from, and how he grew up, and how long it took Kendrick to get on, people don't realize it. Like he's paid his dues in the game, and not just saying that Drake was an overnight success, but Drake popped off in a quick amount of time, because he got with, and I will say everything is about timing as well. In success, that's in business, that's in as far as celebrities, that's in movies. Everything has a lot to do with timing. Certain things can be perfect timing. Right, like right now, this is perfect timing for Kendrick Lamar when he drops his album now. If he would have came out with his album without this beef right now, I'm not gonna say it would have been crickets, but it wouldn't have got the attention that it's gonna get ready to get when he drops it, or his, or anything else that he does going forward. But I will say, like, and going back to the content about all these things, this is the best time. I was like, I'm big on news jacking, and when something is hot, and when you create, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you kind of figure a way, how do I get into this story? I don't care if you're a yoga teacher. You could be like, you could make a post. If I had to get one of these people to sell my yoga mats, I think I would get Drake to sell my yoga mats over Kendrick. You know what I'm saying? And you could get people to debate on it. And the reason why this worked, this beef, and has gotten so much, has gone national outside of just hip hop music, and music in general is because
international Canada.
It's international. Yeah, international. Yeah, I meant to say. It's because it's so even. Like this couldn't have been. Let's just say this couldn't have been Drake versus Yachty or somebody like that. It's they're both not on that same level. So I think it made people choose sides, and then you can defend what side you're choosing and why. And that's when anytime you're having something that really takes off, it has to be from a perspective of that like it's not a one-sided thing where a person can say that doesn't even make sense what you're saying. This person is not comparable to the next. So, and this is going to be this beef is going to be for a while. But I do hope it ends up like Jay-Z and Nas. Look where they're at now, at a different different place. Go ahead.
So I think what both of you are saying about like how people are jumping in and they are passionate, right, about what's one side or the other, and they're passionate about one take or the other. We have to give, whether we agree with what they say or the way they say it or what they rap about or not, it speaks a lot to their brand and the brand that they've built, each of them. Because to your point, if it was just somebody like a get off me, we've seen smaller rappers try to go after bigger ones in the past, and it didn't always like pop off. It will maybe be a little bleep on the radar, but then keep going. But I think for everyone who's like tuning in with us and you have your own brand or your own product that you're trying to build, the fact that both of these men have legions of people, many of them being grown men, who are willing to jump in and defend their brand and defend the way they did their artistry passionately. It gets into some of the other I guess brands that we've seen out there that people jump in and they try to defend them. Like we've seen the Jordan. I think it was who was Jordan's big rival that he would go at it with.
10 G's are a resident sports guy.
Jordan had the big beef with somebody. It was like, but well, even now we'll see people be like, is Kobe versus
Detroit,
Jordan?
He had beef with Detroit.
They'll be like, they'll try
the whole Detroit team.
The whole Detroit team, and you see like the Coke versus Pepsi.
Patrick Ewing and the Knicks.
Jordan, Patrick Ewing. You'll see like Adidas versus Nike, Android versus Apple. If you have a brand that is strong and that your people, your followers, your fans, your consumers care about, that's part of knowing that you have a brand is when they're willing to step in and defend it. When they're willing to step in and fight for it, when they actually have a real point of view, a strong point of view versus all of your competition that's out there. And I dropped up, I pulled this up earlier. Martin was talking about the Coke versus Pepsi, and we've got it up again. Thank you. We've got it up again to kind of dig into like why does the battles work and why did the beef work, and then also how can other content creators use that, right, to make their content pop. That's why the taste tests worked for Coke and Pepsi back in the day. You brought that up and mentioned it, Martin, the blind taste tests. We'll see, I think it was Domino's did a whole series of commercials after they reformulated all of their pastas and they started using higher quality ingredients compared to what they had used before. They had people sit down in a restaurant and present it like they were at this fine dining Italian restaurant, and then they pulled the walls back. People started eating it and digging into it. They were like, "Oh my gosh, this is so tasty! I can taste the richness, and I can taste this and that and the other." And they pulled the walls back, and it was actually a Domino's, and they were like, "What? This is crazy!" So they kind of created their own beef battle versus the entire Italian food restaurant industry, but used it to say us versus them. And I think that when we talk about when we look at brands and we look at Kendrick and Drake and like the fact that people are so vehemently passionate about what's going on with them. I think that we've seen a couple things. I think we're seeing some pent demand. There's an entire arm of hip hop and rap listeners that have really felt, I think, steamrolled and like a truck ran over them when trap music and ratchetness started being celebrated more and being heralded, that they just didn't even have like a hero or somebody to fight for them. So there's this pent up demand for a particular version of hip hop. And then you've also got these two men that have worked really, really hard to craft the brands that they have. And the fact that people are willing to fight for it shows that whether we agree with them or not, that they actually have a really strong brand position. Your brand is not your tagline. It's not your logo. It's not your brand colors. But it's the memories, the emotions, the feelings, and the interactions that your consumers and your fans have with you, the product you're producing every single time. And once you get to the point that it's actually a true brand, there are some telltale signs around it, like knowing that it's defendable, that people will fight for it, that they care, that there's some passion. So I just want to kind of pause and say, like, there's that it is a testament, whether we agree with it or not, from a marketing standpoint, it's a testament to the brands that they've both built. And I'm hoping that the content creators who are tuning in with us can take some of that and say, okay, so how do you turn around and make sure that the brand that you're building and that you're creating is something that is delivering so consistently to your consumers or your fans or your followers, that to the extent that they have emotion and passion around it, that where they would even defend it, they would fight for it. The same way iPhone users want to fight with me and say that they think that their iPhone could ever be better than an Android, like that kind of passion. What do you guys think about that? And for those that are watching, if you have a thought or an idea or a take on it, please drop it into the comments. We want to hear it. And engage with you too.
Well, before we go into any of the beefs that I think that we're probably getting ready to talk about, I did want to acknowledge the women in hip hop who really started off 2024 with beefs, and that's Megan Thee Stallion, Gorilla, and a bunch of other situations. So the dudes started, after the win. I gotta acknowledge the sisters in hip hop who were beefing on Twitter for the month of January. And then, of course, I do want to acknowledge our younger brothers who did seem like they were really personal beefs. I don't know why, but out of nowhere, Chris Brown and Quavo, And so there was a trend. The reason I bring this up is I want content creators to understand, to look and keep your eyes open for trends. And I would have never guessed that Drake and Kendrick or J. Cole / Drake / Kendrick would even have acknowledged what, I forget who it was that supposedly allegedly dogged them out as the Three Kings. I just didn't think it was on their level. I felt like that the person that said what they said about the three guys, I felt like there was But to your point, as you were talking, Sharice, I was thinking, and Tenji, it would have been a missed opportunity if they didn't acknowledge it. Like if they didn't acknowledge that somebody had thrown down and gotten them and said, F y'all. I mean, it's just like, this fly. He's not even at our level. He doesn't have the legacy we have. He doesn't have the lyrics we got. Why are we even addressing this underling, so to speak, this C-class celebrity, we'll say, or C-class rapper? We're in the top, we're probably in everybody's top 10 or top 20. And so this guy that came at them, he maybe is in somebody's top 50. I don't know. But my point is that I personally, Mr. Trend Watcher, didn't see this coming. And I think that's a lesson for content creators. When you see, to your point, Sharice, about the verses, there's always works. Verses always works. Team Apple, we can't help it We want everybody to just, enjoy their life and enjoy their Texas and enjoy. And what the Justice Department says about why Apple Texas look better than Android Texas, I think that's subjective. I don't think that was purposeful. But nevertheless, I do really want content creators to. My wife and I go back and forth about the word pecan and pecan. And every time we do, I go, we need to capture this. Because I know it's going to spawn 500 comments. There are people that swear you say the word pecan as pecan. And I don't know why they do. But like you said, verses will always generate impact, engagement, whether you're team grits with sugar or your team grits with salt. Either way, it's gonna spawn a conversation. And if what happens is people who use sugar in their grits, we start to look at them differently, like we do Android users.
Anthony Hamilton has a whole a line of soul food products, and the comments always go off because he had one of the products is grits in his Hamilton corner store soul food, and corn, of course, cornbread and grits, but the comments absolutely go off when he talks about sugar versus no sugar. And so like I hope that those that are watching this, that they dig in and say who even if it's not an actual competitor, right? Like, because it's his grits, but so he's not having to have beef with somebody else, but just that element of the verses in it, sugar versus no sugar, and it's something that people are passionate about. It's like, whoa. Oh, we got Angelique jumping in with us. Look at that. Look. ham basket versus handbag. It's definitely a handbag. Definitely. Yeah. Who says handbag? Thank you, Angelique. But
you mean hand
right.
basket? You mean hand basket? It's definitely hand basket, not handbag. No,
and the passion.
Well, what her post was, and it's funny she brought that up. Thank you, Angelique. Angelique. I saw her post on Instagram. I think it was 2 months ago or a month ago, and I was like, both were. I remember when the word changed. Once women really start. Do you remember those small pocketbooks? Those really tiny pocketbooks, that trend. It was around the same time low-rise jeans came out. All of a sudden, the pocketbooks came like micro pocketbooks. And at that point, that was when I noticed that regular middle class, lower income middle class women were going for $1,000 handbags. And they started talking about, versus my mother's generation was pocketbook. And then it became handbag, and it became more of, so it's interesting generationally what happens. Also timing, as Tenji brought up earlier, timing. 2024, I don't know if this is going to be a unicorn year, but it's definitely a different year for marketing. Like, we're usually bored in the summer. I don't think it's going to be interesting to see, is this juggernaut, maybe it's because of election year, I don't know, but
it's going to be there's no time off this coming up now when it comes to marketing now, because it's like seasons which you used to have, with AI being able to generate so fast, and you have the attention span. It's like people forget stuff right away, so you're constantly putting out new content, new advertising a new marketing material. So you have to be on your A game, and even if you're not on your A game, it allows you. Whereas before, where people might take off for the summer and says, it's slow season in whichever business that you're in. Now you're like, I'm putting out content that's going to hold me during that. I'm making it before time. I'm making a batch pieces of content so I could put it, and use it in the month of August when I'm vacationing somewhere, and I can sprinkle it out and, this is going to work around this time. So it's no reason to really, take off. So I just think it's going to be still pushing it. And before we end this thing with Drake and Kendrick, I will say, the beauty of competition like this, how it brings awareness, it brings skill set, and you're going to start seeing a lot of other brands now incorporate this. Like if they have a competitor, because we all know you need another uh, brand person, somebody's going to keep you competitive and sharpen your knife in a way.
That's Wendy's,
Whereas if
right?
you're, yeah, and that's why you can't, it doesn't allow you to just be, just sit back and not give the audience or the consumer, the right type of product, or putting something more into it and recreate and just not, going off of yesterday's wins. So I like it. And if you look at one business who does well at this, and we're not even talking about them, but just remember how good Wendy's is. Wendy's constantly takes shots at McDonald's and Burger King and all those places. So this is something you wouldn't be surprised if, Nikon comes after Canon, or something else that's going to get attention. Just like you see Mark Zuckerberg tried to do it with, where he tried to shut the Apple Vision down, and from it that way as well. So
Yeah.
just start looking, and it's good if you want to, gain some attention, and you don't have to spend the money to do it with Facebook ads or radio or TV ads. Just create a good, just call somebody out who you think is in your industry that, like, okay, you've been biting our shit for so long, let me say something now.
T-Mobile
And I
CEO did
think
that.
your biggest competition is also like what they were doing before they found your product, right? We used to do lean in a day. When I was at Coca-Cola, I went through training for how to build a brand in a day, or product in a day, and it was like called Lean Startup. We did this lean building in a day, and I think that it's good for people to think about, like, so even if you're doing, like, let's say you're offering a meal delivery service, right? You could go after Uber Eats, you could, but remember, first of all, like, is that the energy that you want, right? Because I got my God, it's dope shirt on. Is that the energy you want? Like, calling out like friction. Really, what were they doing before you came along? Like, it could simply be them clicking a button, to get your product, and they're chilling, versus going out it's raining where I'm at now, going out in the rain and all this drama. And so you can show the before, like, this, and a meal appears, versus all the drama that's out. But it has to be something that people have emotion about. And I think Angelique just made another great comment about how there's levels to the Drake and the Kendrick battle, and it's true. It's just as it's true for them and their battle, that there's all these reasons why people care and why they have emotions around it. It will be true for you and your product, if you can dig into that part of what you offer that your core audience deeply, passionately cares about. There are going to be people like myself who love old school hip hop, who love clean, uplifting Christian hip hop. If you are into any of that, please come kick it with us on hiphoptruth.com. We are here for you. We love the uplifting art and the uplifting content. So there are people who are passionate about it because they see maybe an inkling or a sliver of light that perhaps more of that is going to come to the forefront. But then there are people, a lot of probably women,
that love the grimy street stuff in hip hop. That's me.
and they just love, like, they just love the lyricism. They're just really all about, like, they're just really on edge to see what kind of art and lyricism is going to come next. And then there are those that are really passionate about one of the particular artists versus the other. People who are team Kendrick and been down for him, love how he, and then the same thing, people who are team Drake, or Cash Money from way back in the day. Fun fact, I worked on a Cash Money Rough Rider tour. It was the last one that I worked on. I will never work with Cash Money again, I don't think. But there are people who, were into it way back when I worked on their tour back in 2000, and then who are still down for and who are all about anything Cash Money to this day, and that they Drake just because he's even whatever linkage he has to it. And so I think they might not know. Drake and Kendrick might not even know. They probably haven't taken the time unless they have a marketer in their team or they're just marketing minded, kind of like how Diddy is or Russell. They're both and Jay-Z are all hip hop legends that are keenly attuned on how to do like marketing from like they just have it naturally. It appears. But Kendrick and Drake might not even understand all the levels on why this is blowing up the way it is. But for those of us who aren't hip hop moguls and aren't rap moguls and are building brands or products that are a bit more functional or everyday, or if you're an executive that's like, okay, so how are you going to get your side hustle rocking? It is important for you to understand what are the different emotional layers that people have around what you offer and what are the levers that you can pull to say, okay, this is going to make this particular piece of content rock or not. Yeah. What were you going to say, Ken? And thank you for that, for calling out the layers, Angelique. That's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
Was it me or? Oh, no, that's 10.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Martin. What were you saying?
No, I was just trying to make sure that I didn't that we got to you. I think that part of the takeaway where we are today, I was just reading someone's message to me, and they were talking about what Tin said a couple months ago about to a private group we have. Tin was talking about dubbing and dubbing in the language that may be the best for the platform, so that your content is actually being seen and heard by the speakers of the language that maybe one of the biggest languages on that particular social media platform. And when you do that and you create cultural content that is culturally accessible to those to that audience, I think it's the same scenario. And we've been doing this for a minute. We've been dubbing, at least when I say we, I mean our community, Black community, we've been dubbing content that resonates with us, like the Kings of Comedy, or Summer Jam. If you talk to a Black person in most major cities, you say Summer Jam, they start smiling, because we know what that means. That's that summer concert with some Rough Riders / Rockefeller / Dipset taking a stage, Cash Money taking a stage at the most popular venue in that city. And I think that today you have content creators who are creating content for a reason, that are creating a general content, but they're not niching down and dubbing that content for either a reason or for a audience. A reason could be, we have Mother's Day coming up, and shout out to you, Cherise. Happy Mother's Day. Are we talking about? I saw 4 posts in the last 3 days about mommy issues, and I thought it was interesting as we approach Mother's. And it was posts from women. Oprah Daily, they put up a post talking about healthy mothers, and looking at content either again for a season, for an audience, or for a niche, and being able to use that as the filter to do the versus concept. And there's always going to be, Team Burger King with the real grilled burgers versus Team Whack McDonald's. So with that orange, was it mustard on? Who puts mustard on hamburgers? But anyway, just saying. So it's always going to be able to push somebody's button, and push it in a good way where you can smile, like not push it to your point, Cherise. It just being, triggered for the wrong reason. Now I know where Tin's going. When I say that, I know what Tin's thinking because I can hear it. He said, "What? Martin, you gotta say, you gotta have people who want to consume," and that's true. You do have people that want to consume things that are, how should we say, a little toxic. I don't say it is toxic. We'll say a little toxic, just a little bit. And so that audience is there, and we have many examples. World Star, we have many examples, of that through history. But they're in the content game, which we're here to talk about on Content Kings and Queen. That is a maybe narrow, but is there.
But this is the thing, Martin, right? Even when creating content, and just like how you say, like making wholesome content or music, whatever way you want to describe it, or business, and making something for ratchet, what it's so hard. No, this is, most people can't do that, and this is what separates the greats from the regular average person in that industry, is because when you can do it, it bleeds you. I mean, it just brings out your audience to a different level, right? And this is what makes you a standout. Like I always tell people, the one thing of all the years being with TMZ, what I did learn, it took me a long time to figure out, because I was just say, I knew they could have always created on their website, they could have always had the best celebrity videos, tons, because we get tons of that come in, just tons of celebrity videos, right? But when you see a platform, it wouldn't go on there. It could be some A-list of videos that wouldn't make it on the website, because they wanted their website a different type of flow. They wanted some celebrity, they wanted sports, they wanted ratchetness, they wanted YouTube stuff, they wanted hip hop, and so it's a flow. And when you can, well, what happens is it's almost like a crossover song, a pop song. You take another person's audience, and this is what helps build your product or service or your brand. You start getting multiples instead of just niching down for one specific. I just want to go pop, or I just want a ratchet audience, or most people don't do it because they can't like just even it out. And this is one thing where Drake has found that formula. He's found that formula where he can go street. And I'm not Drake or Kendrick, doesn't matter, but how he's been able to play it. And this is why even in the lyric on that battle, he says something about, I'm all the way in Japan. Y'all can't get out here. Nobody knows y'all out here. I'm global. And that's the difference. And this is what, when making content, is almost the same thing. And it's the same thing why the dude Kabi on TikTok blew up and had all these, millions of followers and views and stuff like that, because he started making content that broke any language barrier. He would just do expressions and movement where the audience would read and understand what he's saying. So that just didn't apply for US, America, knowing the video. It didn't apply to Africa. It didn't apply to, China, all these different places. It was global. So when you can mix and touch all different audiences like that, your brand becomes a lot bigger too, and you become more known just outside of your neighborhood or national, and then going global. So think locally, act globally.
I gotcha. Our next topic, and go ahead, Shatrice.
Jump off. We're actually coming up on time soon here, but I just wanted to share, like, kind of, because I think what Angelique mentioned about the layers, but also what Tenji said about like the impact. One of you mentioned how quickly this has blown up, and we talked briefly about like we had a mention or a nod towards AI, but I think that that's really, really important for us and for everyone that's watching that has their own brand or product to really kind of take account for. Tenji, you were just talking about it. You're talking about like AI and people like batching content. So that's a good point. A lot of people who were content creators that might not have gotten in on this because they would have been so busy creating content for their everyday. A lot of them have probably already batched their content for this, for the spring and for Mother's Day. Hopefully, many of you have already got your Mother's Day posts all done and batched up, ready to go. But
what you talking about, Willis? What? He's like, you already got it matched. I'm like, that's what? That's good.
But and so, but for those who have got it like ready and up like that, then it's really made them have it's really cleared their plate, I would say, so that they can simply focus on what's hot and what's happening now. For the people who are using AI or using something, or even their spare time to batch their content, then it leaves it leaves them freed up a bit when things come up that are hot, to be able to just, okay, now they're going to push out a lyric video, or they're going to push out something related to what they do. I mean, it was that something related to what they do, but about that hot topic. And for those that are not, like using AI yet, or who are AI purists, I get it. I get it. I really do. But I would encourage people to think about how could they free up their plate, because it's here. And I think and it's here, and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere. It doesn't mean that you have to make AI create all your content. I would not suggest that. And I think it's disingenuous, especially if you're not telling your audience that that's happening. But look at this impact that it's already having. I think it's definitely been a part of what made the lyric videos come out so much faster. People can just upload a video from Kendrick or Drake. They can screen record it and then upload it to a transcription service that spits out all the lyrics for them. Where literally 10 years ago, somebody would have had to type all of those things in unless they could find it online somewhere. When you look here at AI by the numbers, it's the market for it is expected to hit $400 billion in the next couple of years. We're expected to have this huge increase in the usage of it by 2030. So folks that don't use it, well, chances are excellent that your competitors are going to use it. If there's somebody that has a lyric video channel on YouTube and they don't use it at all anywhere in their business, chances are excellent the people that they are competing against are absolutely using it. Sadly, it looks like there's a concern that's probably very justified to have concerns about misinformation from AI. And I think this number, the Chat GPT had 1 million users within the first 5 days of Chat GPT being available, is insane. I'm going to do a little bit of plug to one of my sponsors here. If you don't have AI, or you're not using it, or you don't have a personal assistant, Expansion Media has sponsored my time here today. And you can visit their personal assistant center, and you can have some free access for a bit to your own virtual personal assistant. There's like 17 or 18 of them in there. So I hope you check it out. But however you get the edge to deal with the numbers that are in front of us all, I hope that you do, because I think what you said is absolutely spot on, Tindy, about the Kendrick and Drake battle having gone so quickly, partially due to some usage of AI. I think that's a really important point. We haven't seen a battle. I've never seen a battle blow up as quickly as this one did.
Yep. I agree. Wanted to just do a quick nod to the Disney Plus news that came out, saying Disney Plus finally has added 6 million subscribers to their subscription service, and they're about to break even at 6 million. 6 million of us paying $7 a month, or 12 or 15, whatever it is. They're just about to break even. Like, that to me is just mind-boggling. If I just had a sixth of that, if I just had 600,000, or maybe was it 60,000, a sixth of that, 60,000 or paying subscribers, I'd be all right. but they, so anywho, I thought that was interesting when it comes to content creators and looking at a reminder to have multiple streams of income, multiple places of monetization, not monetizing all on sponsors, not monetizing all on the platform, not monetizing all on paid newsletters or paid ads. Being able to have multiple streams of income coming in, because that one stream of income ain't gonna be enough. It's not today.
But if you look at Martin, if you look at it, and one key takeaway, even with that story, and this is something that came out earlier today with the Disney Plus, what they're actually getting ready to do now is one thing, and this is what's been happening in the creator world, is collaborating. Now they're in it talks about them teaming up with Warner Brothers for,
Yep.
and when we talk about Warner Brothers, we're talking about HBO Max, basically. So you're going to get all of that with your Disney as well. So they're figuring out, okay, we couldn't, get the numbers that we thought. And this is why I'm a big person on everything is about timing. See, everybody took too long to jump on the streaming. Once they waited and let Netflix destroy the market in the sense of getting everybody's eyeballs and getting everybody's patterns and understanding all these different things before they started setting up, streaming service. And then by then Netflix just dominated. And they just Netflix was able to utilize AI way before, AI became so popular, in a sense of knowing everybody's patterns and knowing what type of shows that you'll just think about it. They were doing this. They were the true social media. They were showing you what you wanted to see in your filters, doing all these different things. They were able to know what time, of days, what time who was in your family. They created that list so they could know, a kid, what type of TV shows they watch, doing all these things. So that's why Netflix has been so ahead of everything when it comes to data from that perspective. And it's taken all of these other streaming services that came out later time to catch up. And, by then there's been too many streaming services, and people are just like, why am I even getting this? This just feels just like cable again. So that's why you got to jump on stuff as soon as you see it and not wait. And this always is the problem with corporate. They get comfortable with the success they've always had, so they don't want to change when they see something or be innovative in a time of what, we've been successful for this, we have to do something different. Whereas Netflix, they're constantly changing, and they're looking, they're shadowing what's next and what do we need to do. We already got the success over here. Let's start implementing something else, and they're paying for it now. So good luck to Disney.
I think what you said about collaboration and bundles is key. This news just came out about an hour ago that Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max, some of us might remember a million years ago, this thing called Cinemax that became Max, that they're going to bundle. And I think for content creators that are checking this out, we talked about a few things today. One, knowing your product and what it's versus what, versus what they were doing themselves for free before your, product became a thing, versus what your competitors are doing. It doesn't have to be snarky. It doesn't have to be mean or nasty. But we see with rap battles, with the Kendrick, Drake beef, with taste tests, for everyone who remembers those, like blind taste tests. So many examples we've
they got to
seen
bring those back
of how the versus concept, your product, what you're offering versus it triggers something. If you are focusing on an aspect that people have some emotion and they actually care about, that matters. It can't just be any part of your product. You have to dig into not what you care about from your product, but what your customers care about. Again, an example, Kids Mic is a product and a brand within the media family, and the creators were all about pushing positivity, which is great. But what we found out in listening to the people who were avid users of the product, people who were listening to it several times a day and often with their kids, they loved the peace of mind and the quiet and the uplift that it was bringing, especially during mornings, that was a rough time and it was making mornings easier, and that they loved that it was making car rides easier. So even though the founders and the content creators behind it may have wanted to just really push, like, we've got all the positivity you want, what really was going to resonate more was maybe a social post saying, here's the car ride without kids mic, and the kids are fussing and they're complaining and they're questions, and here's the car ride with kids mic, which is a positive music CD you can get like on Amazon or Spot. It's on all the streaming services, KIDZMIC. But here's the car ride with kids mic, and the kids are happy and they're singing about having a good day and they're positive, and the music is still thumping, it's still bumping, mom and dad are in their heads. So it's a big difference in the verses there, but if we tried to focus on just, the uplift versus being sad and frustrated, that's not what the customers were going to be all about. Another thing that Tinji, you just mentioned, the power of collaborations are so powerful. And so we see like corporate, they're not waiting. They don't wait. They don't see the ball, like the Indiana Jones. They don't see the big ball rolling at them and just lay down or just wait or just brace for impact. They are like, okay, coming. And brand managers, marketing innovation managers, sales managers, talk to your customers. What do they want? What's going to be the most compelling thing to dig into that they actually care about? What do our customers actually care about that can answer this? And then they get busy doing it and creating it. They have this, you all see on the screen, Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max. I promise you, as a seasoned corporate Fortune 500, Fortune 100, Fortune 50 marketer, brand marketer, brand campaign, marketer for huge brands and marketing innovation manager. This kind of collaboration, this kind of announcement, this contract absolutely does not come without weeks and months and hours. If you add up all the hours worked on this deal, you can only imagine. Yeah, like the lawyers, the legalese, the everything. And so it comes out and it looks like, they just nice with a bow, but they had to dig in. They had to figure out, do we have the same customers? Do we have consumers, enough overlap in our consumers in the right places and the things they care about as it relates to our content for this to make sense? And then after they did all that research, they likely then had to go figure out, okay, how do we all get paid? And what are we all comfortable with? And all that. And then the lawyers had to be happy and all this and the branding and how the mark's going to look. It's a lot. So say all that to say, exactly. Yeah. And then how are they going to roll it out? And what's the press package going to look like around it? And how to make sure that
whose name comes out first.
Who's first? Like, yeah, who gets mentioned first in this? And and then there's a lot of the humble pie often. Like corporations are really, I think, more honest and more ready to say, no, it makes sense for your trademark to go first because it's the dollars, the cents, it makes sense that they can more quickly, I think, see the benefit that they're going to get out of collaborating and giving an entity that's bigger than them their just due, versus when it's an individual creator, those emotions but it's theirs and the ego can creep in a little bit more. And so I think it would be good for creators to remember to check your ego at the door, just like the big corporations have to do, and go with who's going to be go in the way that's going to make the most dollars and cents, and to be honest about the impact that a bigger brand or a bigger entity could make if you lean in with them and leverage their brand and lean in with presenting it a bit higher and living in the space of that agreement, that partnership that's going to be really more beneficial to your brand, even if it doesn't feel great to your ego.
I like that. Yep.
Well, I think that we are at time. It goes by quick,
This was a
but
great
here we
conversation.
are.
Yeah. This was a great
So
conversation,
thank you.
and
Yes. Go ahead.
take
I think
action.
that. Okay, Tim.
No, go ahead. No, I was just saying a great conversation, and
I was
you
going
know,
to say,
a
I
lot
think we
of
kind of
things we learned.
gotcha. I think we kind of have a topic maybe for next week is collaboration over competition because something I watched I thought was interesting was Dick Wolf. You know, he's the guy behind Law and Order, but he
Law and
also
Order.
has a series called FBI. For the first time that I've ever seen on television, two competing networks are both sharing his content. They're not sharing it on their television screen channels, but they're sharing it also on Peacock and on Paramount Plus. Both brands are sharing it. And I was like, wow, that's you know, an NBC Universal versus a Paramount, which may be sold, and CBS may be spliced off from Paramount if the sale goes through one way. If it goes through on Skydance, everything stays together. So anyway, this concept of a content creator, Dick Wolf Productions, having content on both on competing networks now has his content um, on competing networks at the same time. So I think that's the first time I've ever seen that in history. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's I don't know if Ricky Ricardo or some old school person from 1940 was able to do the same thing with their
No,
production.
they wouldn't. Those networks wouldn't allow that. I've noticed they've opened up now more, and it's just almost like when you see in the beginning you had to stay loyal to a specific platform. Now you could post everything on all the platforms, so they've opened up. And it's funny you say that because I also just saw Kellyanne Conway's husband, who's a lawyer. I saw him doing CNN and MSNBC. And normally, when you're, you pick and choose one of the news channels that you're loyal to. He goes on both of them regular. So I was like, okay, they're understanding. Let the talent be the talent, and we still can get more views and get our story across as well.
That part. And what does that mean for content creators? So I love next week to jump into that space of collaboration over competition.
So y'all that are watching, let us know. Let us do what we're telling you to do. Tell us, or would that help you if we dig into? Hey, here's a time to really dig into competition. Hey, here's a time to dig into collaboration. Please let us know in the comments if that will help you, or DM. You can send a DM. Just send it to the platform that you're looking at. It'll get to us. And what else you're interested in hearing about? What kind of things are you like? Yo, I've been really doing this and wondering why my content doesn't blank. Tell us so that we can share and dig into it with you. Jonathan, thanks for the feedback. Thank you so much I think it's feedback about us in this show. So thank you. And everybody, thanks for rocking with us. Let's keep it going. Let us know what you're looking at, what's interesting to you, and we'll keep it rocking.
See you
Thanks,
next week.
everybody.
All right.